Hi, my name is Hunter, and I am a big fan of J.R.R. Tolkien's work. That includes everything from the Lord of the Rings series, to The Hobbit, to The Silmarillion, which I'm currently reading for the first time. And that also extends into Peter Jackson's adaptations of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Recently, it has come to my attention via my younger brother and sister, who are also fans of Tolkien, especially the movies, that there is a video series going around, and it goes along the lines of, like 50 things wrong with, The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, in however many minutes. And, they showed me one in specific, and it was, things wrong with The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. And, of course, I watched it, but here is what I'm going to do. It is going to be things wrong with The Hobbit. First of all, half of these things wrong are just silly jokes. They're just really little quips that the commentator makes, and they're counted as bad. And, that doesn't equate something bad. I don't know about you, but if it wasn't in the actual movie, if it is something that you said, it doesn't count as something from the movie. Second of all, they mention when the dwarves are passing through the Misty Mountains, when they're staying in the cave, right before Bilbo's about to leave, and Bofur says, I wish you the best. Bofur's keeping watch, and that's right before they fall into the Goblin Kingdom. And their quip was something along the lines of, how could they not know that they were in a trap made by goblins? Well, someone obviously does not know the concept of a trap. You're not supposed to know it's there. That and the goblins live in the Misty Mountains. Oh my god. The goblins live in the Misty Mountains, and they set this trap up specifically because they knew that people were going to be traveling through the mountains, and they wanted to to rest, especially considering how rainy it was, with the whole crazy mountains and cliffs fighting and stuff. So the dwarves were tired, they were wet, and they were crankier than usual, especially Tharn. They are literally on the front porch of the goblins, and they don't know. That means the trap worked. So someone needs to open up a dictionary and look up what a trap is. Secondly, they talk about how Bilbo's fall from the bridge in the Goblin Kingdom to Gollum's cave should have killed him. And, oh my god, I can't talk today. Hobbits are pretty hardy, because I think if they weren't, then Frodo would have been dead. Not long after meeting Aragorn, even if he didn't meet it, even though he did meet Aragorn, who ended up saving him a bunch of times, he would have been dead. He would have been dead, like, a mile away after leaving the Shire. Not saying that did I say Frodo or Bilbo? Shoot. Frodo is frail looking, but he's actually pretty hardy, and that's the same for all hobbits. And it wasn't that high of a drop when you consider that he had other rocks to break his fall. I mean, granted, the rocks are gonna hurt, but they're not, if it's just a straight fall, you're gonna die. But if you are bouncing off things, it's deflecting. And so, you have a better chance of living, or you could end up like the goblin that fell with him, and he was sort of helped along by Gollum. Which makes me segue into my next point. Bilbo's sword, Sting, we know that Bilbo's sword glows blue when orcs or goblins are near. And one of the comments that someone said in the video was that his sword was glowing blue when they were in the actual lair of the goblins. But, I mean, they were obviously surrounded by goblins by then. You really don't need Sting to tell you that, or you're just really dumb. I don't think even the dwarves were that dumb. And I mean, the dwarves, as much as I love them, they're not the brightest. They're not the brightest species in Middle Earth. Of course, there's the orcs and the goblins to consider. But when they're in, right before they go into the lair, right before they fall into the lair, when they're in the cave, of course the sword blows through because there weren't that many as there were in the whole entire kingdom of the goblins. That's a little obvious. You'd have to be blind and deaf to not know that you were surrounded by goblins. Sting is just like, you've got it from here, essentially. And I'm going to segue into another point that's still in the Goblin Kingdom. While Bilbo falls off the bridge and is having his riddles in the dark contest with Gollum, the rest of the company is brought before the Goblin King. And they're searched by goblins, and the goblins find a sword. And we don't know where they got it, assuming. And it's just tossed out in front of the Goblin King, and everyone's going ape because it's a really bad sword in the history of goblins. It has killed a lot of goblins. And the video states that this is Bilbo's sword, Sting, and that it's not glowing, therefore everything is wrong, ever. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but first of all, that's not Sting, because Sting fell with Bilbo. Second of all, Sting has never seen battle according to Balin. And in the books, at least, the first kill made with Sting is one of the spiders in the Mirkwood. So it can't possibly be the same sword. And thirdly, this is just concerning the whole sword thing, elvish blades. Elvish blades are known to glow blue when orcs or goblins are nearby, much like Sting. But not all of them do. I understand if you assume, just because Sting glows blue, and Sting is an elvish blade, that Sting, all elvish blades will glow blue, but they won't. Only specific ones will. And finally, out of the Goblin Kingdom, we are moving forwards to the scene where Azog has essentially cornered the dwarves up in their trees, and he is burning the trees that the dwarves are hiding in down. And Azog has a real bone to pick with Thorn, not only because he chopped his hand off, but he's just not a pleasant guy. He's an orc. So, orcs are not naturally pleasant. And he initially says, paraphrasing here, Thorn is mine to kill. And then a couple of minutes later, after Thorn has had his butt handed to him by Azog, he says to another orc, "Bring me his head." And apparently there was something wrong with that. Azog probably did, as much as he wanted Thorn dead, he wasn't going to do his own dirty work. Azog is done with fighting. He was just sitting there, leading everyone. And he's okay with that. He wants Thorin dead, but he's not going to do the work for it. And then, finally, the part that irritated me the most, because it is one of the most asked questions in the Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, Tolkien fandom. Why didn't the eagles fly the company to Erebor? Well, first of all, the eagles are not a taxi service. The eagles don't just hear someone go, "Help, we need a ride," and go straight over there and give them a ride. The eagles had no personal allegiances to men or dwarves or elves. The only real allegiance they had was to Gandalf. They owed Gandalf huge favors. Gandalf represented the Gandalf represented them. So they wouldn't, and he represented them, so they wouldn't have to come out of a safe haven. And whenever Gandalf calls them, they're going to come. And while they may not drop them off where they really need to be, they're at least giving them a boost. And like I said earlier, the Eagles don't have allegiances to separate races, like in Lord of the Rings, when they don't take the Fellowship to Mordor. Not only is it because Mordor is a terrifying place and there are so many volcanoes and there's so much crap coming into the sky that there would be so much low visibility and the Eagles would probably not be able to breathe. Or they get shot down first by orcs of the Uruk-hai. They have no allegiances. They are not for Sauron, and they are not against Sauron. They just want to be okay. They just want to live by themselves, alone, and thriving. And you can't blame them. And then something that isn't included in the film, in The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, is that the Eagles don't talk in this one, and they do talk in the book. And they talk about how the Eagles are scared of these shepherds. And I mean, it's understandable because shepherds will shoot the eagles down because eagles are known to take the sheep. So I think that it's not only that they're scared of them, but they're also respecting the boundaries while also realizing that they're going to get shot at. But mostly, the eagles are not a taxi service, and that is something that people need to understand. And then, but also, geographically, at the end, with the ending shot of An Unexpected Journey, when they're standing on the cliff and they see Erebor. I can't remember the name of the cliff right now, but it is an actual place in Middle Earth. It is a specific place. A lot of me can't remember it. But from there, you are actually not able to see Erebor. It was just added for dramatic effect, especially considering how large Mirkwood is. Mirkwood is massive. So huge. Like, when Bilbo sticks his head out of the trees in Desolation of Smaug, he just looks around, it goes on for as far as the eye can see. Erebor simply not close. And I'm sorry if I ranted a bit. So, that's my story and I'm sticking to it, and that's all I've got to say about that.